Oh my.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
What up? What up? What up? How's it going? Good to see you. Man, hopefully the Giants didn't blow it to the Dodgers. Yeah, they did. They certainly did. It's a tied game. Unbelievable. How did that happen?
Oh my.
That's infuriating. Go down 4-0, come back 5-4, blow it in the ninth. I really do. I hate baseball now. It just drives me nuts. Yeah. Well, that's a good starting point. Naneto 5 Dow. I don't know. I went for it. I sold out for it. I don't know if I got it. Probably not. However, I tried. Yeah, that's a great starting point. So, hello, welcome to the lab after dark. Although this will not be, well, I won't say what it will be and what it won't be. I don't know. But however, I do want to say, yes, I was absent yesterday until late into the night. I didn't want to. I didn't want to watch. I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to do anything. I just wanted it to, you know. It's just, you know, I don't know. I didn't have anything to do with any of it. I support people that want to deal with however they deal with stuff. I'm fine with all that. I don't care about it. But the fact of the matter was, it doesn't have anything to do with me. That's not how. Yesterday wasn't, to me, a symbolic day. I didn't think it was an important day. I didn't think, or more important than any other for summer. I didn't think any of that. You know, 2 years, like these kind of benchmark things, they don't mean anything to me. I don't know why. They just don't. They have never meant anything to me. Maybe that's wrong. I don't know. I just, it doesn't do anything for me, like emotionally. It's not anything to, I don't know. So I was just, yeah, you know what? And then, so then I sat down and then I was writing a little bit, and I wrote, the little blog, the duck test. If you haven't read it, if you like to read, it's a little long-winded, that's for sure. But if you enjoy to read and something, humor me, I guess, if you want. Marlena says to me, it's just another day summer's missing. That's a fact. It's a fact. Yeah, I did see that. I don't remember what day that was. I did see that. I don't, like I said, I don't think about harassing Don and Candace does nothing. It really doesn't. And so I don't support it. I agree. Totally agree. And so that's why I just wasn't around yesterday. I know there were people like, are you going to go live? I hope you go live. It's been a bad day. And I understand. I understand that. Just know that it's, you know, it wasn't just a day that I had circled. It wasn't a day that was like just another, you know, reminder of how long it's been is all it is. I mean, that's not a good thing. Not a good thing. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. I thank you, Kellyo. Good to see you. That's how it's always struck me. But I did hear that Dawn and what's his name? Tim Mullen did another podcast. I came in on the end of their little podcast that they were doing, and Tim seems to be getting his jollies off of it. I don't know what his thing is. That's surely he's not as dense as he's portraying. So it's like, yeah, I mean, you're right. It's not that long of a read, but like some people just don't like to read, and you know, I can completely understand that. Yeah, it's shoot crap. It's more about Tim than anything. It's the whole premise of the show is Tim trying to get Dawn to answer the simplest of questions. Dawn has no interest in doing it. But you know, Tim is his media manager. So he's throwing him a bone. Because they weren't in town. They don't at the moment they don't live in Tennessee. But really fast on a completely different note, a story that we've covered here a little bit on Lab After Dark. Al Pacino is now a father again. The guy is 83 years old, and I believe his 29-year-old girlfriend just gave birth. When Al Pacino was reached out for comment, he said, the only diapers I'll be changing are still my own. And so we wish him the best. I don't know how the hell something like that happens. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. So, wow. Yeah. Thank you. I wrote that joke all by myself. I didn't really take writing. I was just thinking, what does a newborn and an 82-year-old or 83-year-old parent have in common? Well, they're both gonna piss and crap their pants. That's just it. That's what's gonna happen. So there's gonna be tons of diapers. Imagine that, being the mother of a newborn and having, it's like the curious case of Benjamin Button, but maybe it's not. I don't know. I don't know what the hell it is. Holy crap. Both are going to have no teeth, both in diapers, both will drool. Yeah, it's a nightmare. When you're not going to wake up from. Oh my God. Why would you do that? Can you imagine? Why would you do that? Why? I don't know. I'm really, being a mom, I'm only really gonna explore as far as him having the baby, but the ins and outs of it, um, you know, I don't know, to be honest. It's a bit much. That's the craziest thing ever. Was it like, didn't Larry King have a kid really late in life too? Like how old was Larry? Didn't he have some kids really young? There's been a few really famous people that have had kids really young. Or excuse me, really old, and not that they have young children, they're dead now, and so that's not a good thing. So yeah. Also, paying attention as well, Richard Allen, saw him in court. Was it yesterday? And what they're saying about him, Richard Allen's now he's confessing to people in jail and his mental state is gone. I mean, he asked me, anybody that I know he's just accused, trust me, I get it. But he looks like the kind of guy. Of course. It's going down. He looks terrible. Yeah, you're right. He looks terrible. And he's on his way down and he knows that he's in trouble. And it's a whole rigmarole. He's in big trouble. He looks like crap. The whole thing is all bad. Hopefully he makes it to trial and they can get some sort of conclusion out of that guy. But anyway, what is it that is going on? Everybody had, like I said, we had graduation. Graduation was fantastic. The party's tomorrow, Father's Day, Sunday, and so it'll be. I think it'll be a good weekend. I'm got my fingers crossed that it will be. Trying to think where. So I keep pushing the thing with Duds back because I've been pretty busy. I have partial interview with him. And so, I mean, we'll go from there, but I definitely want to get that on. I want to get that episode out. I am a father twice over. I'm a father twice over, which is been the greatest pleasure and joy and everything in my life. My youngest just graduated high school. But yes, I am. Thank you. And but we got to talk McDonough. McDonough coming through in the clutch, man. Him and Ansley did a fantastic job on News Nation. But yeah, shout out McDonough for his News Nation interview. And by the way, how fair was he? Like, he was so overly fair, so good. And trust me, him and he, can you imagine Don's like, okay, I'm going to go on News Nation. I'm going to present this whole thing. And I'm going to dye my hair piss brown. And then, I mean, he honestly looked like he really looked like the Cowardly Lion. So, God, disgusting. And what the hell is that, man? Dude, that hair. His hair looks like it smells like pee. What is he doing? Like, you're 60 years old. It's okay to have that kind of hair, dude. Look, I got a little gray right here. I'm not doing nothing. Let me go paint it, PP brown. What the frig are you doing, dude? Man, I mean, your midlife crisis was over 20 years ago. Jesus. I really don't. I mean, nothing against people who want to dye their hair. It's just, where the hell did that come from? Don doesn't strike me as the dyeing the hair type. That doesn't seem like something that's in his everyday routine. Hey, I got to get up. I got to brush my teeth. I'm going to hit Starbucks on the way to work. And then, oh, don't forget, Candace booked you an appointment at the spa to get your hair dyed. I mean, I don't know. It was a tough look, man. I was looking, I'm like, did this interview take 10 years ago? Let me, now I got to see it again. Here, let me. Oof. Stupid. So it was like the funniest thing. Okay. Here we go. Yeah, it was shocking too. That was the thing about it. It was shocking. I was shocked by I didn't recognize him at first. God bless you. What the hell? Why not go? Why that color? Don Wells' criminal record stirs public speculation. I don't I don't know. I'm I'm confused. I don't know. I'm not sure what to say about it. Yeah, he looks like Shirley Temple. Josh Zia, my best friend, swear on everything. It's a cowardly line 3 seconds before he did. We're cracking up. He used Candace's leftover hair dye, in my opinion. So yeah. He's got the curl going. Like you remember Little Richie? If you remember Little Richie had that really good activator that gave him that like curl, but it wasn't like a curl. It almost, you know what I'm saying? Like it almost curled, but it didn't quite curl. It was like it was just a loose lock, you know, wanted to curl, tried to curl, needed to do it, but it didn't do it. And that's kind of where, I mean, that's what it looks like with Dawn's hair right here. It looks like Little Richie. It's a relaxed Jerry curl. Maybe we've been wrong this whole time. Maybe Dawn does have the right to say the N word. I don't know. I need an ancestry DNA test stat. And so we can just get this. If Dawn is able to carry that get out of jail free card that he uses, because it's not verified yet. We don't know, but this right here explains to me a little bit more. This explains to me why maybe he is possibly, you know, from the hood. I mean, he looks like Ice Cube in Boys in the Hood, that they had the same kind of hair. So, whatever. He looks like Ice Cube. And that's a tough look to pull off. It's a tough look to pull off, but he seems to be doing it. I don't know why this is the outfit and hair choice. See, when he went on Dr. Phil, he looked a little bit, I mean, he really looks like he's nobody dyes their hair red. Like they do when it's extreme. If this makes any sense. All right. So let's follow me here. Just follow me. Okay. Nobody dyes their hair red unless it's their favorite color, unless, bear with me now, unless you're in a punk rock band, have ever been in a punk rock band, like punk rock music, emo, a lot of father angst, 15-year-olds type stuff. And so, yeah, maybe I did. I don't know. Little Richie. Isn't that Little Richard? I don't know, dude. I just don't know. I'm confused by this color choice. It's skin colored hair. That's what it is. It's skin colored hair. Kind not really. And it was more brownish. This is like the color of his face is the same color of his hair. Like they're both red. I don't want to play the video. Just a summer look. Yeah. Yeah. See, like he looks, look at his hair there. It's like five. It looks like, I mean, it's still okay. That face bothers me. It's the color of a used Q-tip. Disgusting. Yeah, he's gonna look like a guitarist from Seattle that never quite made it. Should dye your hair too. We know he's your idol. You want to be like Donnie when you grow up. I'm good. I mean, I'm fine with the color of my hair. Here, let's listen to what you guys want to watch it? I don't care either way.
Behind the headlines, because every missing person matters, no matter their background or their past, their race or their circumstances. They are missed by their family, their friends, their community, and sometimes by complete strangers. It is our mission to bring these cases to light with the hopes of finding answers and also offering closure. Maybe you can help us solve some of these mysteries too by listening and being engaged in the stories. This is Missing, and today our missing case is one we have covered before. It's been 2 years since a little girl from Tennessee vanished from her rural home. Her name is Summer Wells, and her case has captivated people across the country. We have a brand new age progression photo to share with you from the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation in this case, and this shows what Summer would likely look like today. She was 5 when she disappeared. She would be 7 years old now. All of the attention in this case has led to no tips, no leads for investigators, but it has led to harassment towards her parents, and they have been at the center of the investigation. Law enforcement remain tight-lipped about what they know and what they have as evidence, but Summer's father did sit down with News Nation recently. He maintains his innocence, and he wants to keep his daughter's story in the headline.
Maintaining his innocence.
This is Summer Wells. The 5-year-old lived at this house in Rogersville, Tennessee, a tight-knit community of less than 5,000 people. On June 15th, 2021, her parents say Summer was helping plant flowers with her mom and grandmother.
And she wanted to go into the house. My wife watched her go into the door, and she went into the house, and the boys were on the internet, of course. She wanted to go downstairs and play with her toys.
I yelled downstairs for her a couple times, and they didn't.
Does that, of course, bother anybody else? Does that annoy? It annoys me when he says that.
She wanted to go into the house. My wife watched her go into the door, and she went into the house, and the boys were on the internet, of course. She wanted to go downstairs and play with her toys.
Angry dude, man. And I disagree with the tight knit as well. But yeah, I don't like how he said that. I never
yelled
did.
Downstairs for her a couple times, and they didn't get no answer, which was unusual. And so I went down there to check, and she was nowhere in sight.
2 years after her parents, Don and Candace Wells, gave those accounts, that's still all we know about the last time Summer was seen. Almost immediately, Summer's parents became the center of a police investigation.
Summer's parents, Candace and Dawn, had something to do with this, or have you ruled that out?
We haven't ruled anything out. Everything's possible.
Could she have gotten herself into a situation where she...
And I know that people probably don't, for some reason, and you know, maybe I'm weird. I always like when investigators say, like, we haven't ruled anything out, everything is still possible, because that is how you really should, if you don't know what happened, then all possibilities are still on the table. But you would think there would be a couple you could get rid of here and there. I'm just saying, possibly.
It wasn't her fault, but
No,
you know what I mean?
no, she's a good mother. She loves her children. She's not going to allow any situation like that. The biggest mistake she might have made is maybe choosing some wrong brands, which is, it happens.
Don Wells pleaded guilty
And wrong husbands.
to driving under the influence last year. Candace also filed an order of protection against him, but asked for it to be dismissed. He now faces criminal charges in 3 states, including a domestic assault arrest in 2020.
So are those done? Are those over with? I was wondering about those.
2 years later, investigators have not charged either Don or his wife in connection to Summer's disappearance.
Everybody makes mistakes,
Oh my God. Yeah. The hair dye.
and we all have to learn and go on. We're doing better. It's still very rough for my wife.
Don Wells sat down with News Nation to talk about where the case stands today. His wife hasn't sat down for an interview since this.
It's kind of oh crap.
Our missing case is one they have. And mother is asking. Years later, they're here as much as a team of child service.
We're walking outside.
For whatever.
We all have to learn and go on. We're doing better. It's still very rough for my wife.
Don Wells sat down with News Nation to talk about where the case stands today. His wife hasn't sat down for an interview since this appearance on Dr. Phil in 2021, where she walked out of an interview in Texas.
No, I'm being interrogated again, and I don't want to do this anymore. Yes, I am.
No, that it honestly makes me just sick, because I don't even want to go into it.
We'll stop. I want you to feel comfortable.
Since Summer's disappearance, Don says their life has been consumed by harassment from people online who believe they're responsible for whatever happened to Summer.
Before you know it, you're getting a mob going. My wife could go to the store and somebody would scream at her, baby killer.
Oh.
Candace.
He sent us videos from one of his job sites where some people were demanding to speak with him about the case.
We're gonna follow you. We're waiting here all day.
Don says it's gotten so bad he had to leave the state.
That wasn't right.
Now the two live in a motel in Arkansas, where Don was able to find a new job. As for Summer's case, Don says they have private investigators working with police. The Hawkins County Sheriff's Office is still working alongside the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. Both agencies declined to give us an interview. Don says he hasn't learned anything new from police, but has always said he believes Summer was abducted. In the past, the sheriff said there's no evidence that happened.
Nothing pointing to abduction, nothing pointing to foul play, other than her walking outside the house and not being found.
There was also a key tip from a neighbor in 2021. A woman and her teen children told police they heard a scream about an hour before Summer went missing.
I wish every day that when I heard that scream, I hadn't tried to dismiss it.
But the sheriff said after multiple interviews, that tip led nowhere. One clue they're still looking for is a pickup truck seen in the area around the time Summer vanished. It's described as a red or maroon Toyota truck with ladders on the back. Even if it's found, police aren't sure if the truck is connected to the case.
I do have hope. Whatever the outcome is, I have hope in God. One day, either sooner or later, I will be with
Did
my
somebody
daughter
get
again.
memberships? How come I can't see that?
The sheriff did decline an interview in the case. He emailed us,
Who did
however,
that?
saying he expects to update us on the case in the near future. In the meantime, Don and Candace have 3 boys. They have been taken by child services. That happened a month after Summer's disappearance. Don says they have not been allowed to talk or see their boys in half a year, but he does hope that he gets them back. I want to show you once again the age progression photo of Summer Wells, what she would look like now, as I welcome in our News Nation reporter from that area of the country, Johnson City, Tennessee, Ansley Daniel. She's been on this case since the beginning. Ansley, thank you for being here. As we look at this age.
I mean, I'm not going to say that they did a bad job, because I couldn't do this job, and it's a very tough job to do. And working with very, very, very little. But she looks like 12 in this 10. You know, it doesn't look like a 7-year-old to me. I think that there is a very distinct jump between, you know, 7 and 10 and 12. But look, you know, grasping at straws, you know what I'm saying? So that's, you know, it sucks.
Each progression of what Summer would look like now 2 years later. What impression are you getting from law enforcement as to why they're releasing this now, the timing of this new photo?
So the last time
I just don't have anything else, you know? So I'm not, you know, I know a lot of people were like, that's not her. That's not, I'm not going to, I don't want to criticize it. Because, but it does seem a little bit older, but look, I don't know anything.
Spoke to TBI was via email. They are not doing any updates this year. They held a press conference last year on the 1-year anniversary. However, they did tell us that Summer would not have been eligible for an age progression photo until she had been missing.
Right. You have to be missing for 2 years. And then that's when the age progression photo comes out. And everybody was like, you know, I was getting messages like, why would they put this out now? Like, you know, are they this TBI didn't ask to do this, or TBI didn't do it. The Center for Missing and Exploited Children and Teens, they always do it.
For 2 years. This is through the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. They have a team of forensic artists. I actually spoke with someone from that organization yesterday. And so apparently it takes 2 years for these children to even be eligible for these photos. And unfortunately, this seems to be the only update that we're going to be getting in this case on this 2-year anniversary.
Ansley, as I said to you a moment ago when we were on the air for News Nation Live, there is so much interest in this case. As soon as we said we would be revisiting it, and it is one of the first missing cases that we covered, the emails started pouring in. People care about this case now, 2 years later, just as much as they did when Summer first went missing. I have a lot of questions from viewers, and I'm going to try to get to some of them. Some may be difficult to answer, but you're closer to the case than most.
This is my favorite.
I want to begin with a question from Betty in Florida, and she.
Who?
She says, "Does law?" Begin with a question difficult from Betty in Florida.
Let's be fair. Florida's a huge state. Betty's a common name. I don't know. I don't know if it's her or not. I really don't. It's a huge state.
And she says, does law enforcement have any person of interest or suspect
Huge.
Betty in Florida the case than most?
Common name. Why would you say? Betty in Florida. Who is Betty in Florida?
I want to begin with a question from Betty in Florida. And she says, does law enforcement have any person of interest or suspects in the case, or have they throughout the investigation any evidence?
It says at the bottom, Betty from Florida. Florida's got like 20 million people in it. And there's a lot of Bettys. And the funniest part about this is I think everybody knows exactly who this person is. It's not Betty from Broward County. It's not Betty from, you know, Miami. It's Betty from Florida. And everybody knows who it is. I'm just saying, we don't know who it is, but I think it's her. I don't know. Is it? Oh my God. Everything's funny to me. I wish it wasn't.
discovered that supports the theory that Summer had been abducted. Can you shed any light on
Has any evidence been discovered that Summer? No, Betty, there hasn't been. I can answer. Can I answer these questions? Does law enforcement have any persons of interest or suspects? Betty from Florida, you should have just asked Josh from California. Everybody's a person of interest. Everybody's a suspect that was around. And there is no evidence supporting that Summer was abducted. Okay. Just saying. So there you go, Betty from.
on that question?
It's just funny. I don't know. Is it her? I don't
Betty.
know. Ansley knows exactly who it is, though. I guarantee you, Ansley's like, oh shit. Like, how many people sent in questions? How many people sent in questions to News Nation? I'm really curious about that. How many questions do you think were sent in? 10, 12 at the most? Yeah, why? Yeah, exactly. Duke says Susie from Sarasota would have worked. John from Phoenix, Lori from Louisiana. Lucy Cat sent in a. So did yours get on the air? I don't think so. I think it may have been Betty. We'll never know.
So since the very beginning, law enforcement said that everyone is a suspect in this case,
Right.
meaning her parents, people who were close to her at church, anybody in the family, such as her grandmother, maybe even implying to other members of the family
real?
and neighbors. So again, law enforcement has not ruled anyone out 2 years later. However, nobody has been charged. So I think that that's important to kind of say both of those things, that again,
Josh from California.
everybody is on the table when it comes to being a suspect. However, 2 years later, there are no charges. Now, when it comes to the abduction theory, law enforcement has not given us any information or evidence that supports that.
And they said that they would.
However, they also have not given us any
If they had any
evidence that goes against that claim. I do know that back a few months after Summer was reported missing, her father did take some of us out on a dog trail near their house. I'm not sure if you're familiar with this area, but where they live is very rural. They live up on top of a hill, and it's kind of hard to get to their house. However, they did say that the police dogs, that their scent of Summer kind of stopped at the end of the dog trail there. Police haven't really made a big deal about that like Summer's parents have. So unfortunately, that really led to nowhere. But when it comes to that abduction claim, again,
This is how we're going to start identifying ourselves. It's like Betty from Florida. But here's the thing, like, why Florida? Why not? Like, I don't know what city. Maybe they don't want to give the city.
and law enforcement hasn't, gone for that, or they also haven't denied it really.
One other question that we get about possible people connected to this family is about the grandmother who was, according to reports and investigators, there the day that Summer was last seen. Evelyn from South Dakota is asking.
Evelyn from South Dakota. South Dakota is not a real big state. Nobody knows who the hell it is still. Who the hell's Evelyn from South Dakota? That's what I'm saying. Betty from Florida, and we all basically know who it is.
About the grandmother and what she has said about the day Summer disappeared.
So I actually interviewed the grandmother. Her name is also Candace. I interviewed her back in March of last year. That was the first time she had spoken on camera.
Candace from Kalamazoo.
She walked us through that day. From what I remember, she was in the hospital that morning and they were out and about here in Kingsport, kind of the largest town near where they live, getting some medicine and things of that nature throughout the day. She told us that they ended up going back home and that she and Summer were planting flowers in her garden. She lived on the property with them at the time. And she said that Summer then went inside of the house and Candace, her daughter, Summer's mother, asked the boys to watch her, and that was the last time she had seen Summer. They, again, have not ruled her out as not being a suspect, have not said she is a suspect, but again, they said everybody is on the table when it comes to this case. I know that there have been some questions about her grandmother leaving the state.
That, Linda.
A lot of people have asked if that was connected to this. She's been cleared to do so. According to what she told me in that interview, the law enforcement agencies told her she was free to go as long as, she answered their phone calls when they did.
No, it's not.
Call. But that was the last we have heard from Summer's grandmother. When I spoke to Don last Friday, he said that she was not in Arkansas with them. He wouldn't really give me too much information about where he is. He made it seem like he didn't even know where she is. So at this point, I can't.
I bet I'm the only Talina from Kentucky. Yeah. Only one I know.
Can't tell you where Summer's grandmother is or how connected or even disconnected she is to the case.
Understood. The other question that comes up in a lot of submissions that we're getting is echoed here in a question from Maggie from Australia. And she's asked.
You're never going to figure out who Maggie from Australia is. There's a lot of Maggies in Australia, mate.
About contact with the three boys. What more did Don say about why the boys were taken from them in the first place?
So back in the beginning, when all of this happened, they were taken away about a month after Summer was reported missing. I went to some of those hearings. I was not allowed inside the courtroom, but did speak with Don and Candace afterwards. At the time, they told us that it was just because it was not safe for them to.
Gambler says, I was thinking, just going to say, Don doesn't even know where he is. Yeah.
Be at the home. At the time, there was a lot of YouTube speculation happening. There were a lot of people, according to them, coming onto their property and things of that nature. When I spoke with Don last week, he said that Child Protective Services made it seem that it was a little too traumatizing for them to speak with the boys. He wouldn't really elaborate on that, but that was the final statement.
Yeah, for them, not for you, Don.
He gave when it came to his boys. We unfortunately don't know too much about their case, where they're at, or how they're even doing, because that case is sealed, as most cases like that are. But this one has been extremely tight-lipped. Now, Don did tell me that when he was in jail, he was able to write letters and things of that nature to the boys. But he said that when he got out of jail in February of last year, I believe, was when we had that conversation. He did tell me that he hadn't heard from them since he was released from jail, and that's when all the communication stopped.
And I think the biggest thing, Ansley, as we have these discussions with Don, and we had ours as well, is the biggest question of all is, what do you think happened to your daughter? Did you have anything to do with it? When asked that question, how did he respond to you?
One time I asked on that, and then he said, maybe you did it.
He continues to maintain that he and Candace believe that Summer was abducted. That is their theory. He did tell me that the two of them have kind of played the day back over and over again, and that in his mind.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure they just rack their little brains. I would love to know if it's true, if Candace really didn't want to talk to the cops, or if that's just something that's made up. I mean,
there's no other option that she was abducted. He said that Summer knew to not run off from the house. Again, they do live in a very wooded area. That area is hard to get to. Their house is way up on a hill. In my opinion, you have to have a reason to be going to their house.
And trust me, there's almost no reason to go there.
So I do, see where he might be coming from. However, law enforcement, they have not given anything to back up that claim when it comes to the abduction. The only thing we had to go off of was, like you mentioned earlier, the red truck. That hasn't really been mentioned since law enforcement put that information out. And then they also said that there were no cell phones that pinged that day. So again, it's just kind of one of those things where she really, there's just no answers 2 years later, and it's frustrating for all parties involved.
Yeah. And for the community members who wonder, if something like this happened, are other kids at risk, right? A very valid question. I want to get quickly to 2 more questions before I welcome in our next guest. I have less than 10 minutes, so I feel like I'm up against the clock. We've got so many people who want to ask questions. This is from Cassie, and she's asking specifically, Ansley, about search.
Where's Cassie from? How dare you?
Inside and outside the Wells home, canines that were involved in those searches. Did any evidence turn up then or now?
Like I mentioned before, the only evidence that we were really aware of was the dog trail incident. We were told that Summer scent stopped at the end of the dog trail there.
Dog trail?
Law enforcement did tell us that there was a change in pavement to wooded area. So sometimes the dogs can react to the change in pavement. Obviously, there's going to be different scents when it comes to pavement and wooded areas. So again, that's really the main piece of evidence that we have from law enforcement.
Hit that like button,
but
please.
like I mentioned before, they've been really quiet since the 1-year anniversary. It's been very difficult to get in touch with the sheriff in the case. We've been reaching out to the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. We've had a few email responses, but they declined all of our asking for interviews. So it's been, like I said, kind of difficult when it comes to the evidence in this case. Law enforcement just hasn't really told us much, and they say that when they have something, they'll let us know.
Did the parents and any other family members take a polygraph early on in the investigation?
We were told in the beginning that both of her parents took a polygraph. If I'm not mistaken, I do believe her grandmother also told me that she took a polygraph test as well. They told us that they all came back clean.
Who's they? Specify.
So I'm not sure about her brothers. Obviously, her brothers are juveniles, so they wouldn't release that information to us anyways. But as of now, I do know that Dawn and Candace and her grandmother did all pass their polygraph test in the beginning of this case.
According to who, Ansley?
Well, the interest in Summer's disappearance has not dwindled. Even 2 years later, there are so many people who care about this little girl. Ansley Daniel with our station in Johnson City, Tennessee. I know that you will continue to update us as you get more information, and we will continue to stay on it. Thank you for your time. We're not done talking about this. I want to welcome in Chris McDonough now. He's a former homicide detective.
McDonough's in the house, folks. Give it up for McDonough, please.
His experience in that field. He's also a podcaster. He went into the Wells home after Summer Wells disappeared to look at the circumstances in which she was living, and he is with us now on the phone. Chris, thank you for being with us. As you're listening to my conversation with Ansley, and I do want to highlight, we've got so many people sending in questions about this case. What stands out to you from an investigative standpoint, that a stone that may still be left unturned?
Marnie, what stands out to me right now is the fact that Hawkins County has said they're going to give an update soon. So what that indicates is this has been an active investigation, very tight-lipped, behind the scenes.
Brian Enton said that Sheriff Ronnie Lawson told him that they passed their polygraph test. That's all I know.
With probably FBI, TBI, and of course Hawkins County at the point. So there is something going on that the sheriff felt that he would say something, but just not yet. So that tells me that this case is definitely headed for.
And I want to say this, as annoying as Dawn and Candace are when it comes to the things that they have accused Chris of and things like that, he never did anything but bring attention to Summer's case. And I don't know if he wanted to do this or not, but he does it. He does it for Summer. He really does. And he really loves her. And we talk about her all the time. I know he doesn't cover it a lot on his channel anymore. But he's really done his, he laid the foundation.
Some type of revelation.
And what do you make of a newly released time progression, age progression photo that they put out, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation put out as recently as a day ago? Here we're showing that on our screen for our viewers.
Yeah, I think that is great because obviously that is a protocol.
The funny thing about it, and I don't know how many of you know this, and Chris, forgive me if Chris's very first homicide case was a missing girl. In 1989, Leticia Hernandez, 1989. And it's still actually an open case. Still an open case. And he still talks about it. We still talk about it. He still checks in on it. So, yeah.
From Nick, the missing and exploited NCMEC, right?
1989. I was 4 years old. It was a long time ago. 30. Wow. It's like 33 years.
And so when they do that, it's just in case the child is out there due to the Amber Alert. And, somebody sees that child, they want to obviously put out the most current potential, view of what she would look like.
I think the thing that so many people have a hard time reconciling is she was on her property, her family was around, her mom and grandma were there, her brothers were there reportedly, and she just vanishes. There's no evidence of an abduction that took place. The dog's picked.
Yeah, and the girl was found. Leticia was found. They did find her. I think Chris personally found some stuff of hers, like some clothing and something else, if I remember correctly. But they had a suspect in mind, and they just didn't have the link to tie him to it. But they had a suspect. It just some DNA was thrown out in the case.
Picked up a scent
by the judge, and then which really hurt the case against the man, or helped him and hurt the prosecution.
What do you pick up on based on what evidence has been released publicly that just is peculiar that sticks in your mind?
Well, I think, the first thing that everybody has to consider is what they call the victim risk continuum. The 5-year-olds just don't vanish from their basements. And suspects don't take that type of risk as well.
So anybody that actually thinks that he doesn't know what he's talking about, he absolutely knows what he's talking about. He absolutely knows what he's doing. I've seen him personally work. It's really impressive.
If this is a stranger abduction, then.
But I can eat corn dogs better. And I think I'm a better singer. He would say different. He could probably beat me in arm wrestling. And he's just done a lot for it. People don't understand it, and nor do I care.
And the suspect is going to weigh out his risk to go up into that property, and the stars align where.
I don't believe that they passed. Don told me himself They took like 3 of them. That's not passing for me.
5-year-old is in a basement. So right away, the authorities, when they went up on that property, that's the.
No, I don't like to fall asleep with him on the phone. It just happened. All right. Okay.
Publicly that just as peculiar that sticks in your mind?
Well, I think, the first thing that everybody has to consider is what they call the victim risk continuum. The 5-year-olds just don't vanish from their basements. And suspects don't take that type of risk as well. If this is a stranger abduction, then the suspect is going to weigh out his risk to go up into that property. And
that's what I think too, by the way.
A 5-year-old is in a basement. So right away, the authorities, when they went up on that property, that's the information that they were faced with, that this was, from the parents, a stranger abduction. Well, statistically, when you measure that against the victim risk continuum, where you look at low, medium, and high risk environment, situation, and circumstance, this is a very low risk situation, almost like an Elizabeth Smart, where she's asleep in her bedroom. Well, this is a 5-year-old in a basement. And so that victim risk continuum tells the authorities there is a higher probability that the suspect was known to the property and or is part of the property, and it could potentially be involved in the disappearance of this child.
I want to point out to people, and some of the video we've seen on the screen has been yours. You toured this home and went into this peculiar kind of basement.
Yes, I fell asleep on the phone while talking to him, but not just that. Him and his wife, Karen, were driving somewhere. So I was on speakerphone in the car, and I fell asleep. I woke up. I don't remember how long I was out, but I fell asleep. I was snoring. They listened to me snore for like 10 minutes. He considered recording me. He didn't. And then I called him back, and they laughed at me for like another 5 minutes.
Bedroom situation where Summer was living, where she slept. Explain to us what you saw when you were there 2 years ago.
Well, when I went into the property at the invitation of Mom, and the first thing that struck me, obviously, was this was no type of living conditions for any children at all. I mean, it was very difficult, but, my experience is, 25 years in law enforcement and as a homicide investigator, I'd seen this many, many times before. However, when she showed me how to get into the basement, that struck me as a possibility of could something have happened on the stairwell going down into that basement with a 5-year-old, because Mom says the child went into the basement through that stairwell. When I got into that stairwell, it was dark, and you go down into this basement area, and it felt, it was dark. It was moldy in terms of the mist. There were disheveled beds in there on both sides. And
Chris, you're being mean to him. Do you suffer from narcolepsy? They have medications that can help you. I don't. I could see why you would think that, but those were extenuating circumstances. I was tired. I don't just fall asleep like that. Maybe I do. What do I know?
It really struck me is what this child was facing. And that also gave me a better indication of why Child Protective Services may have been involved from the get-go.
One thing that both Don said, I don't know that Candace ever said this, but he was criticized for saying it, and it raised a lot of questions, was that maybe Candace had made some bad friends, some people that she shouldn't have been hanging out with, that they welcomed into their lives. Did she talk about that when you had a conversation with her, and in the months subsequently, why he would say that?
You know, she didn't mention that, and I don't recall him saying that to me, Marty, but, you know, Candace, when I spoke to her, she was, you know, she was telling things, I thought, at some point from her heart. But at the same time, my experience also told me she was not being 100% truthful, and there was just something more there. I don't know what that is. If this was an accident, if this was, you know, something that they knew, somebody they knew,
Sure,
and you know, that type of situation. So it's a real mystery at this point, but I suspect the authorities are going to unwind it, and we'll see some, you know, things taking place in the near future.
That is my hope and prayer, Chris, that this comes to a resolution and that little girl is out there somewhere alive and we can find her safely. Chris McDonough, former homicide detective, thank you for your time and your insight in this case. Also to Ansley Daniel with our station in Johnson City, Tennessee. To you for the many questions and your concern about Summer Wells. Once again, the age progression photo of Summer. She would now be 7
I didn't know that.
years old. Police just releasing that this week in the case. If you want more information on her disappearance and the case, you can go to newsnationnow.com. We'll be back with another missing case next week. And if you have information that can help authorities in this one, please call the number on your screen. I'm Marnie Hughes in Chicago. This is Missing.
Lulu, I was thinking that too. Check it. Yeah, let's look at that.
Things I thought at some point from
Chris, question.
My experience.
A resolution, and that little girl is out there somewhere alive, and
Interesting. Why can't I see Jimmy Hoffa? I see people talking. I don't have anybody blocked. Where are you at, Jimmy? Yeah, it's quite the look. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say. The people say they ain't lazy, they are just poor. Not true. Yeah, I don't believe that. It's just the pick of Candace told me. Yeah, it's quite the look. It's very upset about something. But, you know, Intuitive says, I'm broke. I keep my house clean. Well, there you go. Poor people clean. CPN, probably, yeah. So anyway, that's why I didn't come on yesterday. I didn't really have anything that I wanted to discuss. What is honestly, I'm shocked that Candace brought Stephen to their home. Yeah, I kind of am too. I kind of am too. But I'm glad she did. I know she's not glad that she did. I am, however, glad that she did. Let's see. Oh, shoot. Didn't mean to do that. Yeah, let's see. Oh, okay. That's a good. I mean, let me see here. Josh, you think we'll ever find out what happened this summer? I've cried for those kids. I do. I do think that we will find out what happened. I think we will find out what happened. I think that there are people that know what happened, and I think that there are people that have either told or are telling. But I do, yeah, I do. I do think that JLR, what did he, you mean when he showed up, knocked on Candace's door? That was a little odd. You know, it's just not like, it's not necessary. I did see people are like, oh, is he going to get arrested for? First of all, I don't know how he could get arrested unless there was like a protection order, or he's not, unless he did something illegal. Knocking on somebody's door isn't illegal. It's annoying. But then if they say, you know, past that, if there is harassment, then you have yourself a problem. But you know, you don't just go to jail because you knocked on somebody's door. No matter who you are. No matter who you are, I mean, he says, "Hey, Candace, where's Summer?" She heard her name, shut the door very quickly. Right. Well, if he continues and all that, then yeah, he could be criminally charged. But knocking on a hotel door is not against the law. So the ADT guys keep it. Yeah, look, I don't, like I've said, I've always said this and I'll always say it. I don't encourage anybody to harass Don and Candace, you know, because I mean, they have the right to live and talk to who they want to talk to and not who they want to talk to, regardless of how I feel about them. But, you know, yeah, is it annoying? Yeah. Should he have done it? I don't know. I mean, who cares? I don't care. I wouldn't do it, but it wasn't against the law, is all I'm saying. But no, shouldn't have done it. I guess. I don't know. I don't care. It doesn't have anything to do with me. You know what I mean? I'm going to stop caring about anything that doesn't have anything to do with me directly. That's how I'm going to start. That's how I'm going to feel about everything. I don't care. I don't care. I didn't do it and I wouldn't have done it. Wasn't me. I don't care. I don't want anybody to get hurt. I don't want to, yeah, I just don't. I don't care though. And I think that that's okay to feel that way. Yeah, they're not gonna interview with him ever. Yeah, he did it. End of story. I agree. Things happen. Things happen. People do stuff. It's stupid. Was it right? Probably not. Do I care? No. Do I have to? No. Oh, Benny. Benny. Yeah, it's insane. It's something that I don't know. I don't know what he was. I don't know if he did it for shock value. I don't know if he did it because he thought that she was really going to give him an interview. But like, as lame as it is to do, reporters, and you could call him whatever you want. He may or may not be. I don't know. I mean, he says he's a reporter. Reporters do that kind of stuff. Doesn't mean it's good. I would just be nervous about knocking on somebody's door like that and in like a state like Arkansas. That's a great question. I don't know. Oh, trust me. It was something. Bold move. I don't know if I'd call it a bold move. Maybe I would. Maybe it was a bold. I don't know what the hell it was. Have we heard anything about Dawn Sisters? Was that dropped? I was off YouTube. The answer is there are others involved at the moment, and there are still meetings that are being had. That's really all I can say about it. So yeah, at least Candace, now that we have not forgot about Summer, I agree with that. Celeste says that she doesn't care. It keeps him out of Pennsylvania, here where he lives. I don't know. Like, I don't. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Isn't that kind of what he does? Like, he goes around and then like he goes to the court and then he yells at Alex Murdaugh or Buster, or not yells, but he's trying. He's right there up hanging out with Enton. So he was hanging out with Brian Enton. Like I said, I don't care. I don't care about people. I don't care what other people do. I just don't. And I think it's weird that other people care. So like, oh my God, you did this or you did that, or yeah, it's just a bunch of losers. My mom. I thought he lived in Florida. I don't know where he lives. Why can't I see? Hoffa? I can't see him. I don't get it. Yeah, I did see that somebody sent something to me about Summer or Candace saying that they needed money. I don't know. I don't know. Kind of negates everybody else's argument saying, oh, well, you do this for money or you do that for money or, you're using Summer's name for money. Well, that seems exactly what the parents are doing. And they have a drug and alcohol problem. So you tell me. Said they didn't have money for food. Nah, it's not. You're right. It's not going away. I don't know why I can't see Hoffa. I don't think they are, though. I think people kind of know, I don't know, who they are, but maybe not. I would hope not. Who, JLR? Yeah, he travels all over the place. I mean, he's everywhere. Guy moves. He's a mover and shaker. What is it? W. Hi, Hoffa. What is it? W what? Please play video. WVLT. WVLT. Oh, cool. Yeah.
Tonight was something no parent ever wants to think about. Your child disappears for years. Good evening. Glad you're here. I'm Ted Hall.
I'm Brittany Tarwater. 2 years ago on this day, around this very time,
Wait
investigators began their frantic search to find a missing 5-year-old girl in the rough terrain of the East Tennessee mountains.
A lot of questions still unanswered in this case. Tonight, our Kristen Allen, exclusive interview with Summer Wells' father, Don.
Have you seen this little girl? The search continues this evening for a missing 5-year-old girl from Hawkins County.
Summer Moon Utah Wells. She went missing around 7 o'clock last night.
Having to spend a second night alone, barefoot, in some of East Tennessee's toughest terrain.
The 5-year-old disappeared from her home in a remote area of Hawkins County 29 days ago.
Thousands of tips, yet no information in finding Summer Wells.
To this day, 6 months later, thousands of tips have come in, but still no sign of Summer Wells.
Today marks 1 year since 5-year-old Summer Wells went missing. The TBI says the case, including the Amber Alert, are still active.
The search for Summer Wells still continues.
The silence here on Ben Hill Road is almost deafening. It's been 2 years since Summer Wells disappeared. The Wells property, once filled with police, search and rescue teams, and members of the Wells family, now sits quietly.
I'm Summer's dad.
Summer's father, Don Wells, says his home in Hawkins County was once filled with joy.
It was really pretty awesome. You know, I always look forward to coming home to the kids and having a good time with them. I worked all the time, but I always loved to come home.
I visited the Hawkins County site of Summer's disappearance and spoke with Wells on FaceTime. Though he is out of town this week, he's remembering the events of June 15th, 2021.
When I got home, and there was a couple of police cars there, so we was really scared to death, and we was just hoping, you know, for the first few days that she'd be found.
The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation activated an Amber Alert for 5-year-old Summer Wells on June 16th of 2021. In the following days, 19 agencies and hundreds of volunteers were called in to help in the search.
I want to encourage the public, especially residents living in the area of Ben Hill Road, to check any trail cameras or security cameras that they might have that could have captured Summer on video or in photographs.
Unreliable cell phone service and rocky terrain created hurdles for law enforcement and volunteers. For 10 days straight, hundreds of people combed the most remote parts of Hawkins County to no avail. Saturday, June 26th, it seemed like there was a break in the case. The TBI asked for the public's help finding a 1998 to 2000 red Toyota truck seen near Ben Hill Road around the time of Summer's disappearance. That truck's driver was never identified. And that was the last potential clue the TBI released to the public. So how could a 5-year-old girl vanish from this remote area? How did she just disappear? Conspiracy theorists around the world have drawn their own conclusions, but none of those have ever been proven. The TBI says there's no evidence Summer was ever abducted, but her father tells us he has a theory of his own.
I think that this is some kind of a professional situation that took her and was probably watching for a while.
His theories don't stop there.
I mean, she's obviously not in school anywhere, or there's no record of her anywhere, so she's either, you know, in someone's basement, or she's deceased, or we just don't.
Why does he, like, is he that dumb? Somebody's basement? Jeez.
Not someone's, or there's no record of her anywhere.
Stop there.
I mean, she's obviously not in school anywhere, or there's no record of her anywhere, so she's either, you know, in someone's basement, or she's deceased, or we just don't know, or in another country. I think it's fairly easy to get anything out of the country, in my opinion. It's not easy to get into the country, but it sure is easy to get out of the country.
2 years later, Wells says the only evidence he's aware
Not really. I mean, you do need a passport.
of is that a police dog tracked Summer scent here to Ben Hill Road. He does believe somebody took her, but he doesn't know whether or not she's still alive.
Do you believe Summer's still alive?
I have no idea. I have no clue. If she is, I mean, I really don't know. There's no way of telling.
There are still very few clues, despite investigators working thousands of hours on this case. Numerous search warrants, cell phone data analyzed, and other evidence collected, and not one sign of Summer. Wells says he spent hundreds of sleepless nights wondering where his little girl is. So I asked him,
Do you know what happened to Summer?
I don't know how you answer a question like that. I mean, I've had that question asked to me before. I mean, if I asked you that question, how would you answer?
What? Oh my God. Like, this was sprung on me. I didn't prepare for that. Horse skis, shit skis. What the frig, dude? Like, it's like blows my mind. He is either the dumbest human ever, or he's the biggest troll, and he's trolling people about. Did you see that smirk on his ugly ass face? That pissed me off. What the frick? Answer the question.
TBI said,
if I asked you that question, how would you answer?
TBI says Summer's Amber Alert.
Question, how would you answer?
What are you smiling for? What the hell is that?
And not one sign of Summer. Wells says he spent hundreds of sleepless nights wondering where his little girl is. So I asked him,
Do you know what happened to Summer?
I don't know how you answer a question like that. I mean, I've had that question asked to me before. I mean, if I ask
No shit. Of course you've had that question asked to you before.
you that question, how would you answer?
The TBI says Summer's Amber Alert is still active and investigators continue to search to find her. In the meantime, this shrine to Summer sits at the entrance of her home. The TBI says it's questioned sex offenders who live in the area, neighbors, and Summer's own parents. Summer would now be 7 years old. If she still is alive, Dawn has this message for whoever took her.
The only thing I can say is please let her come home. Let her have her freedom and her life.
You may remember this. Kristen Summer has 3 other siblings. A lot of people may be wondering where they are now. Do you know?
Yeah, well, Don told me he feels like his 3 other kids have been kidnapped too. We do know for sure they're all 3 in DCS custody.
All right, TBI says this case is one of the most exhaustive missing child cases they have ever investigated.
Yeah, the agency says it's received thousands of tips, but the twist with this one is a lot of those tips are based off of rumors and speculation.
There was a big point made early on in the investigation. If you don't know for sure, don't give us your tips because so much junk was passed on. All right, we do have a full timeline, everything that's happened in this case. You can find it in the WVLT News app. Kristen, thanks.
Former President Donald Trump will make his.
Sorry, Gail. I don't have time for you. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what to say. I think he's just being a jerk. I'm not really sure, to be honest with you. I don't. Maybe he was trying to sound smart. I don't know. I'm confused. Yeah, I don't think so either. Well, thank you, please do. Yeah, I'm glad that. Yeah, me too. Yeah, I was very happy about that as well. Wow. Weird, man. Eric, once again, thank you again for becoming a member. I have a headache. I think I'm just gonna go to bed. But it was great being here. Thank you guys so much, and for hanging out with me, and appreciate you guys being here. I'll see you next time. Night.
Oh my.
Mullen, where'd you find this?